Well, I feel, depressed. Let me just say first that Mick is absolutely right. I think the fundamental problem with Vice President Harris is that she could not answer those questions. It was shocking in many ways that the substance just wasn't there. Where's the beef? It just didn't seem that she had a grasp of those issues that she could articulate. A lot of that I put aside in favor of the emotional, historical aspect of a black woman ascending to the highest office in the world. She, though, did not demonstrate competency going into that, but the history was enough to sway me. But I do believe that the Republicans and Donald Trump, the best campaigner, performer in modern history, just did a diabolically magnificent job exploiting hot-button issues like immigration. How many times did we see those grainy pictures of immigrants running over the border and stomping and running, and each time there was an act of violence, it was absolutely exploited, even sometimes to the dismay of the parents and the other survivors. I think that it was a poor, to summarize, Connell, a poor campaigner. Her moments of brilliance, the debate, she was great.
Right.
I also thought that the canned convention was terrific. Her nominating convention and her finale was also much better than President Trump's. But by then, it was it was already over. And I lament how devastated her performance was, how devastating it was. But there's always next time. I think that I, though, shall retire from the business of endorsing candidates.
All right, after all these years. Well, yeah, I know you hadn't done much in that regard up until now. You know, what's interesting, Geraldo, I'd be curious what Mick has to say about this, but he and I were talking a little bit about demographics. You brought up immigration. Some of these numbers that we had, particularly on Latino men for Trump, were really something. I mean, he did really, really well according to some of the exit polls. What would you say, Geraldo, about that?
Well, I was in the Rio Grande Valley with President Trump examining the border wall 2018, 2019. I forget the exact date, but it was clear then there were crowds on both sides of the issue. One side was pro-Trump, the other side was against Trump. But the Latino community was divided. What I have found after writing 2 books on immigration is that the phenomenon, it goes back to the Irish and the Italians and the European Jews and so forth. The phenomenon is they get into seeking the American dream, but it's almost as if they want to burn the bridge behind them. If they want to assimilate, they want the country, they want the fruits of the new world, but they don't like the idea of people crowding in behind them. It's been absolutely the way it's been for a couple of centuries. Right. But I do also think, Connell, that social issues like the transgender thing, blown way out of proportion. You got a handful of cases, but that was also brilliantly exploited. And when you see the sweep of her demographic defeat, you understand that it's more than one thing.
Yes.
They needed brilliance. They needed enormous crossover appeal. They needed swagger and just a deep knowledge. And I just don't think the vice president was up to the task, Connell.
No, on the issue of immigration, and Mick, I want to get your thoughts on this. I'm going to squeeze in a quick break because Vice President Harris will be coming out soon. President Trump really focused on that. A number of times down the stretch of this campaign, he says, this is the #1 issue. And he would say it explicitly, not the economy, not inflation, it's immigration. And he emphasized that in the closing days of this campaign, which has now wrapped and will officially do so with this concession speech, which will start any moment. We'll be right back. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.